everyone, welcome back to another video. I hope you guys have all been doing well. I'm Harriet, and as we can see, we have some special guests with us here today. Very excited to have them, so I'm going to get them to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Irene.
We already know who you are.
Hey everyone, my name is John.
Yes, so as you guys have heard, that's Irene, this is Ben, you already know, and this is John. And we're very excited to have them here today with us because we have a very deep and very interesting topic we're going to be discussing today. And the topic is strongholds and addictions. So, we're going to try to dive deep. We want to get out as much insight, as much, understanding as possible. I think that is a topic that is often kind of like, we hide away and we shy away from talking about because it's a sensitive topic. And I think unless you work in the health field, like I work in the health field, so I see a lot of it. So it's not new to me. And I think John, you do as well. You work in the health field, so we see a lot of it. So it's not like that new, but just in the general sense, it's usually very hidden. And no one really wants to talk about it. So today we want to, just be able to, I guess, shed light and bring out as much insight as possible. So first thing we're going to do is define each one so that we know what we're talking about. So strongholds are a place where a particular cause or belief is strongly defended or upheld, and then an addiction is basically physically and mentally being dependent on a particular substance. So like, a very strong belief and basically being like physically and mentally dependent on something. Okay, so those are the definitions of both of those two things. And the first question I want to ask everyone is, what are your experiences with like strongholds and addictions? You want to go first, John?
Sure. Yeah. So are you basing in terms of like, have I ever experienced any stronghold or addictions? Or?
Yeah, so either
it can be all in all, like
what
you have experienced.
Yeah, if you've experienced it or if you've seen it.
I think every individual, as long as you live, you're gonna experience either two of them or one of them. For instance, like with stronghold, right? Yeah. Everyone has like a stronghold in one point in their life. My biggest one personally is like overthinking. Just thinking too much about about certain things and worry a lot. Yeah. And that's makes it harder to trust God. Because like everything you put in it in a way like you want to control things, but sometimes you don't have the choice. You don't have the control over everything. Yeah. Situations comes and go. Yeah. And when you solely depend on yourself, for provision, you depend on yourself for fixing things. Yeah. You're basically saying that you can do it all on your own. You don't need God. And that's that's one aspect of stronghold. There's many strongholds. There's like personal strongholds, and then there's like family strongholds, and there's church stronghold. There's like national stronghold. Yeah, wow. Yeah, so all of these different type, but it starts with individual stronghold, and then it's spread out. For example, like as a father, if you have a stronghold, for instance, like beating your wife, or like drinking alcohol and things like that, that's gonna pass it on to your child, most likely. If your child see that and be like, okay, I don't want to be like what my dad, what my dad used to be like. Yeah. And then the child can decide to like, okay, I don't want to drink because I know what it does to my father. Yeah. And I don't want the same thing to happen to me as well. Yeah. In terms of addiction, like you mentioned, it's like physical and mentally dependent on something. Yeah. Yeah, like for me, one of the biggest one used to be like this pornography, and a lot of men struggle with pornography and things like that, and so took a long time to break through that, but God came through, and He just like broke that addiction. And I was watching this show called Strange Thing, like how
I was thinking about that the other day when I was
and I'm like, this person addicted to smelling diapers.
Yeah.
Like, what?
No, it's so strange.
That's a very strange thing, man. And there's a lot of like different different types of addiction. I guess every individual, has some people addicted to food.
Yeah.
No,
honestly, I was actually.
I'm not calling up names, man.
I was actually thinking the other day when I was thinking about this video and what we're going to talk about. I thought about like strange addictions. And if you guys have seen that show, it's so weird. Like people are addicted to like razor blades. People are addicted to I don't know eating chips every day, and then like so big because they just want to stop eating chips. And honestly, it's actually crazy the kind of addictions that there are out there. And I think one of the ones that obviously like John has already mentioned quite a few there, like obviously alcoholism, drugs, and we see that a lot at work as well. Like a lot of people are addicted to like alcohol and drugs, and then that usually like takes them astray, and they don't even know what they're doing with their lives. And I think for me, one of the strongholds that I used to have, to be honest, I think when I was a bit younger, would have been like fear, I think. Because it was always like you're afraid to do anything. Like, why are you so afraid? What are you afraid about? Like, you want to start this, like, oh, but I don't know, what are they going to think or what are they going to say? And then you hold yourself back from doing things because you're just so afraid. And then like, as I got older, I'm like, why am I so afraid? Like, what's wrong with me, So I had to really like, come out of that, like really start being more confident and like stand up and be like, no, you don't have to be afraid. If you want to do something, just do it. Just get it done, So Ben, do you wanna?
Oh, that's it for you.
Yeah, that's mine.
For me, it's basically when I was a bit younger, my struggle was similar to John, but the fear of losing, basically. Just anything, or like that's why for me with my saving and stuff, when I was younger, it started from that, like, oh, I don't want to lose this, I don't want to lose in this, I don't want to lose in that. So I always have to have a plan B, plan C, plan D. In order, if I lose here, I still haven't lost, I still got this. So that was a stronghold. And obviously with addiction, I think it will have to go back to like alcohol and like sexual side of things. So basically with ladies and stuff like that, pursuing girls and stuff like that when I was younger.
Just jumping from one girl to another.
That's not my that's not my words. That's not my words.
Pretty much.
That's not my words, but basically it was kind of like that. Like with alcohol, I won't say I was addicted. I drink with friends, but I'll say like when I say alcohol, it was like with family side of things. To be honest, all my friends know I wasn't a heavy drinker. And I saw the effect that it had on the family and stuff like that. But like for me, I used to drink with friends, but I only drink here and there. I have friends that used to drink heavy, but for me, the stronghold was a big part, and then the addiction would probably be just pursuing girls and then just not really
actually caring about
not really caring about myself or anything. And then when I overcome that was pretty good. But yeah, those are the two things.
Okay. I have another one, but I'll say it later. Yeah, go ahead.
I guess for me, I have to always remember that every addiction and every stronghold, there's a purpose behind that. So with an addiction is mainly composed of four things. It's compulsive. Number one, it's a craving. So you always need to have it. There's that desire for it. It becomes a need rather than an extra, I'm going to dabble with it here and there. There's also the consequences. You do it despite the consequences. And then there's also the control aspect of it, where you do not have any self-control in regards to that substance or that thing. All of those things equal an addiction. You can have unhealthy coping mechanisms, you can have struggles, but what an addiction really is those four things. It's compulsive, you crave it, you don't care about the consequences, and there is a lack of self-control in regards to it. And so with the addiction, it's even if you want to stop, you can't. That's when it becomes an addiction, and then that's where the stronghold aspect of it comes in, where it's because I have lost self-control regarding this thing, I've ultimately given something else power. This thing now has the power where, because of the momentary pleasure it's given me, it has overpowered my senses, that I now chase after it despite all of these other things. So with me, if I had any experience with addiction. I would say it's like a close shave with an addiction, but I would say because it was more medical stuff. Because after I had my first child, I was diagnosed with PTSD, so I was required to go on antidepressants. But because I didn't have any other coping mechanisms, I was heavily reliant on the antidepressants, like heavily, and I relied on the numbing effect of it. So if something bad would happen, but my mind would recognize that it's bad, but because of the antidepressants, I was numb to that feeling of it. So because I wasn't in a place where the environment was healthy and there was nothing else for me to depend on. It was the antidepressants that I was heavily dependent on. And eventually, like I started off with one brand on a low dose, and then I'll become I then kept the dose would increase. I then move on to a stronger brand. That dosage would increase, and then when I realized that it was becoming unhealthy was when if there was any time an uncomfortable situation would happen, I would and I had taken my dose for the day, I would think it doesn't matter, you can go and just take another one, despite me having taken that dose for the day. Just go and get another one. This feeling will pass because of it. And then when I started, I was like, no, I'm not having a addiction. Absolutely not. Like I went cold turkey.
Oh my god.
Despite I needed it, and of course many people depend on antidepressants, but for me, I recognized that the patterns of what was going on was leading me towards an addiction, and I had to stop it.
Wow. Oh my god. Like it's actually crazy. Like, the fact that just something as simple as like a medication that was actually prescribed to you can make you. Oh my goodness.
Literally, like when you're talking about like just depending on antidepressants. I'm just thinking of all my clients at work. Some of them are so dependent to the medication. And one of the greatest things you said, you recognize that you're depending on it, and you're like, okay, let me put a boundary on it.
I was gonna say with something that John said earlier, addiction, Irene said, it kind of just clicked in my mind. You get so used to it that it becomes basically a part of you. Like people that smoke, they do it so much by it becoming a second nature that to change from it is so hard for them. But like Irene said, in order for you to actually overcome that, you have to realize that this is wrong. And when you realize that, it doesn't mean it happens straight away. Even people that have quit smoking, sometimes you'll see their finger like this, like thinking about smoking, because it became so intertwined with their lifestyle that everything to do with them just flows with that. So addiction, it takes a long time to overcome it. Even when you overcome it, your whole body, your whole mindset, the way your brain used to send messages to your hand to do that, it still flows until way later on that starts to, that whole nature kind of changes. I see it in order for you to get over addiction, something else has to take the place. So obviously you have to take it towards something better, which for me it was Christ, obviously, that got me away from all of that. So now whenever that comes, it goes towards that. I don't even think about that anymore. So addiction can be
And so another one that I want to actually point out, because obviously I was trying to be quick before, but one that I already had in my mind that I was going to talk about is my phone. Ben always goes, you're actually addicted to social media, right? And then one day I decided, okay, no, I'm gonna fast. I'm gonna fast from my phone and go on social media. Oh my goodness, let me tell you guys. So I decided, okay, I'm not going to go on Instagram, because Instagram's all I'm always on, so I'm not going to go on Instagram, and actually Snapchat as well. Every time I would get up to go on my phone, that's the first thing I would go on, and you think, okay, no, and you're wait, no, I'm fasting, I can't go on it. And then it's actually weird. It's I don't understand. I actually felt like, okay, you know what, this is a proper addiction here, because how is it that every time, every time, so I had to recognize and realize, okay, if this is going to really take up my time like this, it's probably not a good idea to just, you really need to reevaluate and think about how it's actually affecting you. Because like Ben was saying, obviously with addiction, you're just used to it, you're just always on it, so it becomes a habit, because you've already kind of made it like a lifestyle. You just always be doing it all the time, and then I had to really think, so how is this actually affecting me? How does this, me always going on my phone like this, that day that I decided to fast for my phone, actually it was a few days, the things I was getting done, like I was not thinking about having to always, because I usually go on my spare time, but really, it really gives you that time to just reflect on other things and think about other things and not have to always be on your phone. I think like social media and our phones, this technology is such a big part of our world now. These are actually some of the things that can become like addictions, and they can become strongholds whereby it's like we don't know how to just put it aside and not worry about it and think about it and think about other things. Like, when was the last time you picked up a book and started reading it, right? No, you're always on your phone. So it really made me think and really evaluate it. So the next part I want to actually go into is how do these strongholds and addictions, how do they affect us as as human beings on this earth with all the different addictions and different strongholds that come at us? How do you guys what are the effects of them on us? Yeah, anyone can just go. You have something you want to say?
I think you become too reliant. If it is a substance, you become too dependent on that substance. If it is, it could be it could be anything that you depending on it. Like you said about your phone. You just every time it's like, oh, I need to go on social media. Just have a look. The first thing you grab your phone is you look on social media. So you fully dependent on that, and you see the distraction of it after you realize that.
Even drugs, like drugs and alcohol, what you say, for example, and even smoking, the whole dependency. I think Irene will probably be able to, talk about this way better because she has some psychology background. But obviously, apparently there's something in our brain that it's kind of is it like a reward system? Reward system, Dopamine or endorphins, whatever. Dopamine, yes. So the fact that people who smoke, right? The more you do it, you feel I don't know, more relieved or something. You think that it's helping you to calm you down, which apparently it does for a bit. But then later on you're back at it again. You want it. But the thing is it's not doing anything for your health. It's damaging the cells in your lungs. So it's how is it actually adding to? Even though yes, it might relax you for a little bit, but in the long run, what is it actually doing for you?
And that's the thing with stronghold, because it started as very innocent, and then it goes deeper and deeper. For instance, people that they will start with one bottle,
Alcohol.
with a bottle of alcohol. Next thing 2, 3, and the next thing the whole the whole carton that they've been drinking that. So it just it started very subtle. And the thing is about the enemy as well. He knows the moment because he can sense it. The moment the enemy senses there's a dependent on a substance, he straight away he will begin to put more dependency on that.
I was gonna say before, obviously we've spoken about the health side of things and the mental side, but we actually have to understand the physical side as well, whereby basically, with the drinking, smoking, and drugs and stuff like that, that's money that has to go towards that. And most of the time when you look at the finance of people that are going through that, it breaks up their family. They don't have money to pay bills or this and that. It comes to a level whereby they will think of that first than to put food or to pay for their bills and all of that. They will think of their needs, their addiction first before that. It gets to a level that also violence, they start, that, because when you're under the influence of alcohol or drugs or everything, you're not yourself at that moment. So all the effect of being violent or even a lot of different things that happen. When you come to yourself that you're not under the influence anymore, some people they're like, oh, what? That's kind of what gets them off that, because they're like, oh, what am I doing to my family? I'm destroying them because of this. But in that time that you're taking it, all that distraction that is coming to your family is just because of that. I remember this guy, he was telling me once, he's like, when he drinks or when he smokes or when he takes drugs and stuff like that, is to take him away from what he's feeling in that moment. And sometimes they're going through something horrible at that moment, but when they drink or they smoke, that whole mindset kind of goes away. Everything that they're going through.
So it takes them into another realm of existence.
It's basically they're not thinking about it at that moment.
Solution.
You know how we said you focus on something else, and that focus is just lasts for a little bit. Like for example, for me, I said when I'm going through playing soccer, it's a hobby for me.
Yeah.
But it's like when I'm on that soccer field, everything else that I'm going through is not in my mind at that moment. So that's kind of how they feel. But once they're under the influence, everything else that is trying to stop them from doing that, bring them back to the world, they kind of attack that in a way. So it brings distraction.
Like, the thing is that these addictions and these substances are actually, I guess, like things that actually, yes, they might take you away from, you know, your reality, but like when you actually come back to reality, they haven't done anything.
Yeah, I know.
Like what John was saying is like that bandage. You put the bandage there, but doesn't mean the wound is gonna.
Exactly.
Then they just increase the dosage.
Yeah, exactly. You know how it's kind of like, you know how painkillers.
Yeah.
When you're in pain, they give you painkillers. It doesn't mean the pain is not there, but it's like, oh, you're not feeling it at that moment that dose is in you. But as soon as it goes away, all the pain comes back. So that's kind of how it is for them. When they take whatever it is, the pain or whatever they're feeling through goes away for that moment. But when they come back, it all comes back. But that's why they go more and more, because they're like, oh, I don't want to feel this, you know.
And did you have any like ones that you've kind of experienced or witnessed?
I guess the main one that people may be familiar with would be alcoholism. I think the main thing about an addiction is like the tip of the iceberg. It's a mask of, you know, what's really going on underneath. And what I know about addictions is that they are mainly coping and defense mechanisms. So maybe you have feelings of, you know, anxiety or fear, and you have a substance that takes that away for a moment. So what are you going to do? You're going to depend on that substance to take that feeling away. And then slowly over time, obviously, because that if you don't deal with that feeling, it's still going to be there. So what do? You just increase the dosage, or you increase the frequency of, you know, you taking that substance, and you know, you continue doing that, just handing over your will and your control to this dependency creates stronghold within you, where you no longer have power over yourself. It's now something else having power over you. That is a stronghold right there. And when you look at, why people get into them in the first place, it's either, it's reinforcing something good or reinforcing something bad. So, I'm going to drink because, it makes me more sociable in social environments, or I'm going to drink because it takes away anxiety, and then slowly, obviously, it metastasizes into something bigger than itself, and you then become heavily dependent, heavily reliant on it. Are you more susceptible to addictions and strongholds depending on your experiences in childhood? For sure, like if you've grown up seeing that and witnessing that, that is sort of normal to you. So there's a familiarity with it as well. So that's also something else that you have to contend with, that because this is familiar to me, it's going to be a lot harder for me to see that it's wrong. So it's going to be easier for me to fall into it and to make excuses for it, making it easier for me to fall into it and for it to become a stronghold within my life.
No, 100%. Like, speaking actual facts, hey, so I think one of the effects that I see that I've, witnessed out there, let's say, for example, in regards to, pornography, or I don't know, sometimes men who are, into, pursuing a lot of different women and things like that, I feel like they don't understand. I guess they don't really see it. They're not even trying to see it anyway. But it really affects, like, let's say, for example, you have a partner. It really, really affects, your partner. I'm thinking from a perspective of a woman. Like, as a woman, she wants to be seen as the only person that you care about. She doesn't want to be shared. She doesn't want your attention anywhere else. She wants all the attention, all the care, everything. So, like, when you're putting your attention anywhere else, it's like, your woman cannot feel love, cannot feel like you actually care about them if, now your attention is all at these different things. And I think, how, because obviously in the Bible it talks about how whenever like a man sins like sexually, he's actually not sinning against God, but he's sinning against himself. And I think sometimes as human beings, whenever we, like partake in sexual activities that are not like, godly, it actually affects us more, and we actually beat up ourselves and we're like, why not? Because it's actually a sin that we're committing against ourselves, and it's something that we have to come out of. Because if it becomes a stronghold, like what Irene was saying, I actually want to step into that. If it becomes a stronghold whereby it's like now you can't even control yourself, like your body's telling you, you shouldn't be doing something, you shouldn't be doing it, but yet your mind is still going there and you still want to do it. It's no longer you controlling yourself. That thing is controlling you. Yeah. So it's even the same example as the phone. Is this social media not gonna control me? Is this phone gonna control me, or am I in control? One of the fruits of the spirit is self-control. So if you can't control yourself, you really have to be able to really evaluate and think, like, that's not the fruit of the spirit. That's not actually something that you should be partaking in. Like, if you know it's not good for you, first of all, it's not adding to your life, it's not benefiting you in any way, should you really be doing it? Like, you should be able to be like, no, we're not doing that because that's not good for me. I'm not going to do it because it's going to affect me in a negative way. So I should step out of this and then do something different, Like Ben was saying, focus on something else. Because I think nothing should become like a stronghold over our lives. Nothing should become like, now you can't even, just do things freely because you feel like, no, I got to go back there and do it. I got to go back there and do it. You don't have to go back there and do it because it's not even helping you in any way, So yeah, do you guys have anything else you wanted to add, or should we move on to the last one? Yeah. So that takes me to the last question. So how do you guys think, like, people could overcome these different addictions and strongholds that they could be experiencing in their lives? What are ways that would be helpful, like, in overcoming them?
I think we basically went through it as we were talking already. Like, first one we said was obviously focusing on something else. That one might work, but sometimes it kind of brings you back. If you lose focus on that, it gets you to your comfort zone, which is that. But at the same time, realizing that it's something wrong is one of the best one. Realizing that it's wrong, kind of every time you go to you remember that, oh, this is wrong. Yeah. You might do it at that moment, but you know it's wrong. Yeah. And then after you've done it, it doesn't mean you're going to stop straight away, but if you know something is wrong and you do it, you feel that guilt after. And then whenever you're coming back to do it again, you'll be like, oh, nah. It'll kind of push you away. Yeah. Realizing it's wrong is the first step. Yeah. And then after that, obviously, regardless what it is, keeping yourself away from it is one of the best.
It's sometimes it's not easy though. I think, yes, like you said, realizing that it's wrong, number one, but then even if you realize it's wrong, some people still go straight back. They know it's wrong, and they know they shouldn't be doing it, and then they beat themselves up about it. Oh, why am I doing it? But then you still go straight back to doing it.
But what I mean is, like, you have to then begin to contend with the feelings of shame and guilt. Because look at what Adam and Eve did after they did something wrong. What did they do? They hid in shame. And that's essentially what happens when you become aware of what you have done under the influence of your addiction. There's a whole lot of shame that can come with realizing the consequences of what you've done. People have lost relationships, they've lost houses, they've become homeless. So much. And when you come to that realization, so what you choose to do in that moment, yes, you're going to be filled with shame and guilt for the actions that have occurred. What are you going to do after that? Where is that going to lead you? Is that going to lead you to hide even more in your addiction? Or is that going to lead you into, a process of getting you out of there? Because look at what, once again, what Adam and Eve did. Despite them, hiding, it was God himself had to come to them and get them out of that place and to get them front what they had done, even though there was a lot of defense mechanisms that happened, after they were questioned with what they had done, it was still God bringing them into the realization of, no, this is what you've done, and this is the consequence, and this is the remedy to that, and you just need to have the confidence. You just need to have the confidence to face that shame.
Literally face it and be like,
just need to be strengthened. You have the emotional and mental fortitude to face shame.
It's like, I was going you kind of opened my eyes to it. Like with Adam and Eve, when they fell, God didn't leave them in the same area because everything, like I was saying, remove yourself from the environment. It's like, for example, if you get your drugs from like one block away and you want to change, if you move like about 70 minutes drive away, you might still come and get it, but it's going to be harder. Like God removed them from the area where the fruit was. He even put angels there to guide it so they don't go and get it. So like if you remove yourself and you put friends in your life that can help you to overcome that, it makes it even harder. But when you're there, you're still tempted to go and do whatever it is. So like removing yourself from the environment and also bringing people around, a better influence around you, that it shows that you do need help. You might fall once in a while, but there's someone there to pick you up and be like, oh, it's all right, you fell today, but we're here for you, type of thing, you know?
Yeah, like for me, I would say the biggest thing is having a revelation of what it is that you're going through. Because if you don't know, a lot of people will be going through certain things. Even myself, like I didn't know, like I used to like have this overthinking issue. Until there's a revelation, it's like, you're actually spending a lot of time in your mind. And when that by itself, like, that revelation, sort of like free me. Because now I know, like, this is an issue. Now, like, knowing the issue, it helped me to seek for solution. So just know whatever the issue that you're going through. That's already a big first step to overcoming the addiction or the stronghold. But if you keep avoiding it, or like you don't wanna face it, you don't wanna actually accept it for what it is and call it for what it is, whether it's like pornography, whether it's like alcoholism, or like any form of addiction or stronghold. Once you identify it, like because a lot of us, we came from different background, culture and things like that, and every culture, background, everyone, there's an addiction, there's a stronghold. So but once you identify that, even sometimes within families, there's generational stronghold, generational curses that has been passed on.
That you don't even know about.
You don't even know. You'll be operating in it while you don't even know. There's a time before we got married. I have to speak to my family. It's like, what is going on, and then I found out, like, oh, this person is like this, like your great is like this is what they're doing. So I'm like, okay, now we need to stand in prayer to cut down all this, to cut down the stronghold, so that it doesn't follow us. Alcoholism is a big part of our family. So I made a choice in my life that, like, I'm not gonna drink alcohol. I'm gonna cut that out. So
that's awesome. So John, like, honestly, like, basically based on everything you're saying and what you guys have said as well, I want to just add to the last part, that I think that one of the most important things that you can do is really pray about your situation, like what John was saying. I think that every time we think we've overcome it, but then we fall back into doing whatever it is that we were doing, then we kind of beat ourselves up and we think, oh, like, how am I ever going to get out of this? Because I keep going back to doing that. It's very important for us to realize that, because we're all human beings. We have, our flesh always fails. No matter how many times we try to do the right thing, we're going to fail at some point, because it is in our nature. It is in our fallen nature. So there's actually a verse in Psalms that talks about how, my flesh and my heart may fail, but it is God that gives me the strength. We have to know that our strength comes from God. Even if we try to do it ourselves, we're probably going to fail. So remembering that, always going back to God, God, I need your strength to actually overcome this, because if I don't have your strength, most likely going to go back to doing it again. Hey everyone, so you're probably all wondering where everyone's gone. So we had a bit of, a few technical difficulties, and our camera didn't catch the last part of the footage, but I just wanted to come on here and just conclude it. So that it wouldn't just end just abruptly. But if I recall correctly, we were talking about really understanding that our help comes from God. Our flesh may fail, we may struggle and keep falling back into our addictions and our strongholds, but God is the one that allows us to actually come out of it. When we pray to Him, when we ask Him to help us to overcome, He's the one that allows us to be able to overcome it. So really just depending on God more. So shifting from whatever it is you're focusing on and shifting it to focusing on God instead. Another thing, you know, we can do is really seek for help, whether we need counseling, talking to a friend that is trustworthy, someone that is of authority, that's trustworthy, that you feel comfortable speaking to. I think those are different avenues that you could take as well to help you to get to, you know, a place where you're not now addicted or, you know, have that stronghold over you. Thank you guys all so much for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you gained something new. If you guys liked the video, give it a like, share with someone as well that you think might be going through anything that we discussed in the video, and then also subscribe to the channel. It lets us know that, you know, the content that we're producing is actually quality content that you guys are using, so we know, and then we can keep, you know, producing more of this kind of stuff. But yeah, otherwise, thank you all so much for watching, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.